The sky darkened quickly. Thick, heavy clouds rolled in from the sea, covering the horizon like a thick blanket of gray. The wind howled through the strange trees of this alien world, bending their tall trunks and tearing at the leaves. Ethan ran fast, his heart pounding, as the hurricane chased him like a wild beast. He could hear the terrible roar of the storm getting closer and closer. Ethan was no stranger to storms. He had lived on this planet for almost 3 years now, one of the first humans sent to explore and settle this new world. It was called Valora Prime, a planet very different from Earth, with a strange sky and unfamiliar creatures. The humans who lived here were still learning how to survive in this wild place, but nothing had prepared Ethan for a hurricane like this. The weather patterns on Valora Prime were unusual. The storms were stronger, faster, and more dangerous than anything on Earth. This hurricane had appeared suddenly, without much warning, and was moving straight toward the small colony where Ethan and other humans lived. Ethan looked behind him. Again, the wind whipped his hair and stung his face. The storm was close. Branches flew past him like sharp arrows. The rain started, heavy drops hitting the ground and making deep puddles. He could see trees falling far away, torn apart by the violent winds. He needed shelter, fast. The small settlement was still a few kilometers away, and the official shelters were full or too far for him to reach safely. Ethan knew the colony's safety zones were limited, and the storm was moving too quickly. He saw something unusual up ahead, a low hill covered with rocks and bushes. At the base of the hill, partly hidden by dirt and plants, was the heavy metal door of a bunker. It was old, rusty, and looked forgotten, but it was solid and strong. Ethan's hope grew. Without wasting a second, Ethan sprinted toward the bunker. His boots slipped on wet stones, but he kept his balance and pushed forward. The wind tried to knock him down, but he fought against it. Driven by the fear of the storm and the desire to live, finally, he reached the door. His hands, shaking from cold and adrenaline, searched for a way to open it. The door had a simple handle and a heavy lock mechanism, with a strong pull and a loud creak. The door gave way. Ethan ducked inside just as the first violent gust of wind hit the hilltop. The sound outside was deafening, trees crashing, thunder booming, and the wild roar of the hurricane. Inside, the air was calm and cool. It smelled like metal and dust. He slammed the door shut and locked it. The heavy metal block slid into place with a loud clang. The bunker was old, but it felt safe. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He could hear the storm pounding outside, shaking the ground like a giant beast trying to break in. The bunker was small but surprisingly well built. It had thick walls and a few old control panels covered in dust. There were shelves with empty boxes and old tools scattered around. Ethan moved carefully, shining his small flashlight on the walls. Strange symbols were carved into the metal. They did not look human. His curiosity pushed him forward. Who built this bunker? And why was it here, hidden and forgotten? Ethan found a small room at the back. The air was colder here, and the silence was deeper. He felt something strange, like the place was waiting for him. As he stepped inside, a low murmur reached his ears, soft and almost impossible to hear over the storm. "My fast ends today." Ethan froze. The voice was weak, tired, and filled with pain. It was not a human voice. "Who's there?" Ethan called out, trying to keep his voice steady. The bunker's cold walls seemed to close in around him. A shadow moved in the corner of the room. Ethan's flashlight flickered as he focused on it. A figure was there, small, thin, with skin that looked pale and almost translucent. Its eyes were large and dark, shining softly in the dim light. Ethan took a cautious step forward. The creature looked old, weak, and fragile, but there was something powerful in its gaze. "I have waited a long time," the creature said softly. "My fast ends today." Ethan did not know what the creature meant by fast, but he sensed that it was very important. He tried to speak kindly. "I'm Ethan. I'm human. Are you hurt? Can I help you?" The creature nodded slowly. "I have been trapped here, alone, waiting for a moment that never came. But now, I feel the time has come." The wind outside continued to rage, shaking the bunker, but inside the strange room, a calm fell between the two. Ethan felt a mix of fear and wonder. This was not just a shelter from the storm, it was a place full of secrets, and this creature held many of them. He decided then that he would not run away again. He would stay and listen. The hurricane was only the beginning. The storm outside continued to rage, its wild power shaking the bunker with every heavy gust. Ethan sat on the cold metal floor, his back resting against the thick wall. The strange creature sat opposite him, its pale skin glowing faintly in the dim light. The creature's large dark eyes watched Ethan carefully. Its voice was soft but carried a strange weight. "I have waited a long time," it repeated quietly. "Years, maybe decades." Ethan swallowed hard. He had many questions. But first, he needed to understand what the creature meant by "my fast ends today." "What kind of fast?" Ethan asked gently. "Are you hungry, or is it something else?" The creature's thin lips moved slowly. "Not hunger, human. My fast is a promise. A wait for the moment when I can end my solitude and act again. My strength has been locked away inside this place. I have refused to take power until the right one comes." Ethan's mind raced. He had heard stories about alien species, with powers beyond anything humans knew. But this was different. The creature seemed tired, broken even. Yet there was an air of quiet confidence beneath its weakness. "Why did you stay here?" Ethan asked. "Why didn't you leave or try to escape?" The creature's eyes grew distant. "Because I was trapped by my own people. They feared what I could do. They said my power was dangerous and would bring ruin. So they locked me away." Ethan's heart sank. He knew fear could make beings do cruel things even to those who once were protectors. "But why now? Why does your fast end today?" Ethan pressed. The creature looked toward the dark metal door that held the storm outside. "Because the world is changing. The hurricane is not natural. It is a sign, a warning." Ethan's brow furrowed. He had noticed the storms growing stronger, but he had no idea what caused them. "Who is causing the storm?" he asked. "Is it something or someone?" The creature nodded slowly. "A force from beyond. Something ancient and angry. The storms are its voice. Its way to punish those who live on this planet." Ethan shivered. The thought of an ancient force sending storms to destroy the colony was terrifying. He thought of his friends and neighbors, of the children and scientists who depended on safety. "Then we need to warn everyone," Ethan said firmly. "We can't let them suffer because of this." The creature smiled faintly, the first sign of hope Ethan had seen. "I cannot leave this place yet. My body is weak. But you human who have the courage and strength, you must take my knowledge and help them prepare." Ethan nodded, feeling a new sense of purpose rising inside him. The creature reached out a trembling hand and touched a panel on the wall. Suddenly, soft lights flickered around the room. Symbols and images appeared on old screens, showing maps of the planet and strange data streams. "This is my knowledge," the creature said. "I was once a guardian of this planet's balance. I understood its nature better than any other. I can teach you how to listen to the planet's voice." Ethan leaned closer. Fascinated by the glowing symbols, he saw pictures of great forests, deep oceans, and vast deserts. The data showed energy flows and weather patterns, but they were unlike anything Ethan had seen before. "Can you teach me how to stop the storms?" Ethan asked, hope filling his voice. The creature nodded. "Not stop, no. The storms are part of the planet's life cycle, but we can protect those who live here. We can find ways to live in harmony." Ethan felt a chill. Protecting the colony would not be easy. He knew the settlers had limited technology and resources. But if he could learn from this creature, maybe they had a chance. Suddenly, the bunker shook violently. A heavy crash sounded nearby, and the lights flickered. Ethan jumped to his feet. As the storm breaking through, the creature closed its eyes, focusing. "No, the storm tests us, but it cannot break the walls. The real danger is outside, in the world that does not listen." Ethan looked out a small window. The sky was a furious swirl of black clouds and lightning. The trees outside bent as if trying to bow to an unseen master. He turned back to the creature. "What do you want me to do first?" The creature smiled. Faintly. "Learn, then teach. The colony needs to understand the planet's rhythms. They must prepare for the storms, but also respect the forces that create them." Ethan nodded again. He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, but also a strange comfort. He was not alone anymore. "For ours," the creature spoke softly, teaching Ethan about the planet's energy, the cycles of nature, and the signs to watch for in the sky. Ethan listened carefully, asking questions and taking notes on a small device he carried. Outside, the storm slowly began to lose some of its fury, as if the planet itself was exhausted. The bunker grew quieter, the roar of the hurricane fading to a distant rumble. Ethan felt tired but alive. The creature's story had changed everything. What had seemed like a simple race for safety had become a mission to save not just himself, but everyone on Valora Prime. Before drifting to sleep, Ethan looked once more at the creature. "We will face the storm together," he said quietly. The creature nodded, its eyes closing with a peaceful smile. "My fast ends today, and with it, a new beginning." The storm had passed, leaving the world outside wet and still. Ethan opened his eyes slowly, the cold metal floor of the bunker pressing beneath him. The creature was sitting nearby, its pale face calm and peaceful in the soft glow of the bunkers. Lights. Ethan sat up and looked around. The heavy metal door remained closed and locked, keeping the world's dangers out for now. But inside this small space, a much older story was waiting to be told. "Tell me your story," Ethan said, his voice steady but curious. "Who are you? What happened to you?" The creature looked at him with a quiet sadness. "I am called Vale," it began, its voice soft and slow. "Long ago, I was a guardian of this planet. My people and I lived in balance with Valora Prime, protecting its life and energy." Ethan listened carefully. The creature's words painted a picture of a peaceful past, one full of respect and understanding between beings and the planet itself. "We were many," Vale continued, "strong and wise. We could feel the planet's heartbeat and speak with its spirit. We kept the storms in check, the forests alive, and the waters clean." Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. The story sounded like a dream, a world where life and power worked together. But something changed, Ethan said gently. Vale nodded. "Yes, a dark fear came among my people. Some wanted to control the planet's power for themselves. They thought strength meant taking, not giving. They betrayed us, locked me away in this bunker, and left me to wait." The creature's large eyes filled with a quiet pain. "I fasted, not out of hunger, but as a promise to myself. I would wait until the right time, the right person, came to free me and bring balance again." Ethan sat in silence for a moment, thinking about the loneliness and hope Vale must have felt. He could not imagine waiting so long, trapped and forgotten. "But why did you trust me?" Ethan asked. "Why did you choose me to help?" Vale smiled softly. "Because you run toward the storm, not away. You seek shelter, but you also seek answers. You have the courage to listen and the heart to protect." Ethan felt a sudden pride mixed with fear. Could he really live up to that? Vale reached out a trembling hand and touched a small control panel on the wall. The bunker lights shifted, and holographic images appeared, showing ancient cities, vast forests, and strange machines glowing with blue energy. "This knowledge was once mine," Vale explained. "It holds the secrets of how to protect this planet and its people. But it can only be used by those who understand respect." Ethan studied the images. Some looked like weapons, others like tools for growing plants or controlling weather. Everything seemed connected to the life of Valora Prime. "Your people were afraid," Ethan said slowly. "They thought power was dangerous, but maybe they were afraid of losing control." Vale nodded. "Fear blinds, human. It breaks trust and makes enemies of friends. That is why I was imprisoned." Ethan felt a deep sadness for Vale's people and the pain their fear had caused. But he also felt hope. If Vale's knowledge could help the colony, maybe things could change. He stood and walked toward the bunker door. "We need to warn the colony," Ethan said. They must prepare for more storms and learn to live with the planet, not fight it. Vel's eyes brightened. Yes, but it will take time and patience. They must listen to the signs, learn the old ways, and respect the power around them. Ethan nodded. I will do whatever it takes, for the first time in many years. Vel's face showed a spark of joy. Then my fast truly ends today. Together, we will bring a new dawn. Ethan looked out the small window. The sky was clear. Now, the storm's fury replaced by calm clouds and soft sunlight outside. The world was ready to heal, and so was he. The sun rose over Valora Prime, casting a soft light through the bunker's small window. Ethan stood beside Vel, the creature who had waited so long to end its fast outside. The world seemed peaceful after the storm, but Ethan knew better. The danger was far from over. We must move quickly, Ethan said. The colony needs to hear what you told me. Vel nodded. Its pale eyes held a deep wisdom and a faint glow of growing strength. I cannot leave this bunker yet, it said. My body is weak, but my mind and power are still here. You must carry my knowledge. Ethan understood. Vel's power was tied to the bunker, to the ancient machines and the planet's energy. He was the one who had to act now. Together, they made a plan. Ethan would return to the colony and warn the people about the storms and the planet's changing rhythms. Vel would share knowledge through the bunker's technology to help Ethan prepare. Before Ethan left, Vel touched a control panel. A soft hum filled the room, and a glowing map of Valora Prime appeared. This map shows the places where the planet's energy flows strongest. Vel explained, these are the places where the storms form and grow. If the colony can protect these areas, the storms will lose their power. Ethan studied the map carefully. Some points were near the colony, others far away in wild forests and mountains. Can I send this map to the colony? Ethan asked. Vel smiled faintly. Yes. Use the old communication system here. It still works. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He took out his small communication device and connected it to the bunker's system. The map and Vel's warnings were sent to the colony leaders outside. The wind picked up again. The calm after the storm was ending. Ethan looked through the window and saw dark clouds forming in the distance. The storm is coming back, he said, his voice steady but urgent. Vel's eyes narrowed. This one will be stronger. It senses the change. Ethan took a deep breath. Then we must prepare. He packed some supplies and grabbed his gear. Vel watched silently, its strength slowly returning. Wait, the creature said suddenly. There is something you must know. Ethan turned. Vel's voice was serious. The storms are not just natural. They are the planet's warning, but also a defense. Something ancient and angry stirs beneath the surface. We must be careful. Ethan's heart quickened. What is it? Vel looked down, then back up with determination. A force older than my people. It sleeps deep underground but wakes when balance is broken. The colony's presence has disturbed it. Ethan's mind raced. The humans were still new here. They had built homes and farms, but maybe they had unknowingly upset the planet. We need to fix this, Ethan said firmly. We need to restore balance. Vel nodded. Yes, but first, survive the storm. Together, they left the bunker. The air was thick with electricity, and the wind blew hard, carrying the scent of rain and earth. Ethan ran toward the colony, his steps quick and sure. He felt a new strength inside him, fueled by Vel's knowledge and the urgency of the moment. When he reached the colony, the people were already preparing for the storm. Shelters were being reinforced, and warnings were broadcast to everyone. Ethan gathered the leaders and shared Vel's message. At first, many were skeptical. The idea of an ancient force beneath the planet was hard to believe. But when Ethan showed them the map and explained the storm's true nature, they listened. They saw the patterns in the weather and the changes in the land. They realized they had to act differently. Teams were sent to the energy points Vel had marked. Scientists and workers began studying the planet's signs and changing their approach. They built new barriers and adjusted their farming and building plans to respect the land's power. Days passed, and the storms came again. This time, the colony was ready. They used Vel's teachings and their new tools to protect themselves. The hurricane still roared, but its power was less. Ethan watched from the control center. Feeling hope, the alliance between human courage and alien wisdom was working. Back at the bunker, Vel rested but smiled. Its fast was ending, but its mission was beginning. The creature's eyes shone brighter, and Ethan knew that soon Vel would stand beside them fully once more. The planet was still wild and dangerous, but now humanity had a chance not just to survive, but to live in harmony with Velora Prime. The sun rose slowly over Velora Prime, casting golden light on the recovering landscape. The fierce storms had passed, but their marks were clear fallen trees, flooded fields, and torn ground. Yet, amid the damage, there was hope. Ethan stood on a small hill overlooking the colony. Round him, humans worked side by side with alien helpers, rebuilding homes, fixing machines, and planting new crops. The air was filled with determination and a quiet excitement. Something new was beginning. Vel, now stronger and more alive than before, stood beside Ethan. The creature's pale skin glowed softly, and his large eyes held a calm wisdom that seemed to soothe the very air around them. My fast truly ended, Vel said softly. Now, I walk again with you. Ethan smiled. We've come a long way, but there is still much to do. Vel nodded. Yes, the planet's balance is delicate. The storms will return if we forget what we have learned. Together, they looked toward the horizon, where clouds gathered faintly but no longer carried the same threat. In the days that followed, Ethan and Vel worked closely with the colony's leaders. They taught the settlers how to read the signs of the planet, the changing winds, the shifting clouds, the sounds beneath the earth. Using Vel's ancient knowledge, they developed new ways to predict and prepare for storms, turning fear into understanding. The colony built shelters that blended with the land, using natural shapes and materials that could bend with the wind instead of breaking. Farmers planted new crops that thrived in the planet's unique soil and weather. Scientists studied the energy points Vel had revealed, learning how to respect and protect them. But the most important change was in the people themselves. They learned to listen to the planet, to each other, and to the wisdom that came from beyond their world. One evening, as the twin moons rose in the sky, Ethan and Vel stood near the bunker's entrance. The old metal door had been repaired and was now a symbol of the past and future combined. Thank you, Vel, Ethan said quietly. You saved us. Vel smiled. No, Ethan, you saved us both. Your courage opened the door. Ethan looked out at the colony, now alive and hopeful. I never imagined finding a creature like you inside a bunker during a hurricane. It changed everything. Vel's eyes shone softly. Sometimes, the greatest storms bring the greatest beginnings. As night settled over Velora Prime, a gentle breeze carried the scent of new growth and fresh rain. The planet was alive and healing, and so were its people. Ethan felt a deep peace inside him. He had run from a hurricane and found more than shelter. He found a friend, a purpose, and a future together. Human and alien stood ready to face whatever came next, united by trust and respect. The fast had ended, but the journey had only just begun.